Romance is in the air for Valentine's Day. And when you're ready to pop the question, all you need is the perfect moment to come around. And, of course, the ring. At BlueNile.com, you can find thousands of natural and lab-grown diamonds, plus legendary service from Blue Nile's jewelry experts who can answer every question, help you design a custom ring, and even plan the proposal. So seize the day today. Right now, you can save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the Osprey CEO podcast on just another quiet, normal week in Welsh rugby. So we'll reflect on that, but we've also got a special podcast for you in this, the follow week in the Six Nations. So hold on tight.
This is the Ospreys Diary.
Hello there, and we are very, very pleased to see that the Chief Executive of the Ospreys has been able to join us today. So, Croeso, very warm welcome, Lance. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, very good.
And obviously, congratulations. You've been in the post just over a year now. Be honest now, has it been a bit boring and you found you haven't had much to do?
Yeah, there's never much going on in Welsh rugby, is there? So apart from the new PRA deal and a new stadium and new sponsorships and a few other bits and pieces, it's been very quiet. Yes,
indeed. Obviously, we can't go any further because, as you say, things are always things are in Welsh rugby. It's a bit of a drama from one week to the next. We heard yesterday that Warren Gatland has left his position as head coach of the Welsh men's team. You've obviously faced a similar situation. Have you had time to reflect on that? And can you draw any parallels to how things went for you as CEO of the Ospreys and moving on from one coach to another?
Yeah, and I mean, I think there are parallels. You know, Toby was and is a fantastic coach and a fantastic person, and obviously Warren Gatland has done incredible things for Wales and for the Lions, of course. But it does get to a point, and it got to a point where with us where we didn't think things were working in the way that we felt they could be working. And you know, it was something we'd been looking at for a while and putting plans in place for. And obviously we had Mark Jones lined up for head coach the following start of the next season in any case. And you know, we came to the conclusion that the time was right in December to make that decision. And you know, if you look at the impact that it can have, and you know, it isn't really a reflection on Toby. It's more of a reflection on, you know, the positives of Mark and what a change can make. But you know, since Mark's come in, we've drawn one game and won 4, and that's you know, and even the one that we drew, we felt we should have won. So it does make a big difference putting a new coach in. It can reinvigorate players. I think you know, I found myself yesterday wishing the Cardiff coach good luck in the next couple of games. I can't wish him good luck for the third game against England as an Englishman. but a fairly unusual position to be in. But I think he will. I think he will get a bounce out of the players. I think he'll understand a lot of the players. He will have worked with a lot of the players, and I think what was looking like a game, and I'm going to the Wales Ireland game, and I was going with a degree of trepidation of what I might see, and now I'm looking forward to it. And that's not to say that I think Wales will definitely win, but I think there'll be a definite bounce, and I'm sure that they'll give Welsh fans something to cheer about. And in the end, that's what it's about: a bit of hope, a bit of performance, and there are lots of positive things happening in Welsh rugby. There's always a tendency to look at the negatives, and I know that there's been negatives, but I think the national team has a huge part to play in what people feel about the game. And if we can get an exciting performance, and they could win, they could beat Ireland, but even if they don't, and there's an exciting performance that people can see what the plan is and can see that the players are enjoying playing, and the Principality is an incredible stadium, so that will start to be the lift that I think we all need.
Yeah, and as you say, we've seen that, and again, no disrespect to anything that Toby did, just that perhaps change of regime can help, and we're realistic as fans of Wales, and some of us are old enough to remember bad periods in the past, and things can change in rugby, in sport, quite quickly, relatively quickly, and if players at least feel as if they're can play with heads up rugby, and take a few chances maybe. I think as fans we'll certainly settle for that. Anyway,
yeah, and I think I don't think Wales fans should be uh, accepting of anything other than a strong national team and strong regional teams. It slightly frustrates me when I see people commenting, oh, the problem is we just don't have the players. We do have the players. We've got some really, really good players in Wales, not just at Ospreys, but in other regions too. And what it needs, it does need a bit more investment. Everybody knows that, and that's coming. But if you look at where the Welsh teams are in the URC, you've got Cardiff and Scarlets doing well. We had a disappointing start, but if you look at our results over the second block of games, we're performing very strongly. There's lots of good news in Welsh rugby. It's just people need to see it, and I think when the national team starts performing better, that hopefully that will cheer everybody up a bit.
well, if we can stay at this point on good news, you've already made reference to it. Obviously, we heard through a joint press release, I think it was last Friday, that the PRA, I think they call it PRA 2025, and I assume PRA is Professional Rugby Agreement, stands for
It
that.
is, yeah.
That's sort of hopefully at the sign off stage with the various boards, and then can be officially launched as part of the One Wales strategy. And what does that actually mean for us at the Ospreys? We've had some really exciting re-signings, and as fans, we're delighted. And also the way it's been announced as well has been fantastic from the media team. But does it allow you a little bit more flexibility with regards to recruitment moving forward?
It does, yes. And one of the things that we've been planning this. I've been here 12 months, so we've been planning most of that time. What do we do? And there was a decent level of squad planning before I arrived, so I'm not claiming the credit for that. But we've got a squad of players at the moment who are capable of competing for the knockout phases of the URC and of the European competition we're in, and you saw that last year because we qualified for the knockouts of both of those, and we want to keep that pretty much that squad together. But if you look back to the days when Ospreys were very successful, we had a big group of Welsh players, but you kind of sprinkle some Stardust on top of it. And we have some Stardust in the squad. No question about some of the players are incredible players that we have. But if you can add 2 or 3 more in key positions, it has a transformative effect on your performances and actually on the whole squad, because it isn't just that these experienced players do well when they're playing. Their influence rubs off during the non-playing days, the training days as well. And if you think of young players coming through, and we've got a lot of young players coming through, who do they learn from? Who do they learn what the highest world standards are? If it's all young Welsh players coming through, there's benefits to that, but you do actually need to bring in other experience and players who've consistently played to a very high standard. So if we are able to do that, then we kind of keep what we've got and build on it by, as I say, sprinkling that Stardust. So we've been talking about how would we do that for the last 12 months, because obviously we've been talking about the new PRA for that time, which is a long time to be discussing something. But we've been making plans so that, okay, well, if it happens, what would we do? And most recruitment takes place in kind of around about now when it comes to signing new players. So we've been planning for, what positions would we target, which players would we target in those positions, and when we've been able to, we've been having preliminary discussions, and as we move closer to an agreement, and it's now almost certain that the agreement will be signed. It's a formality before it's actually signed. It allows us to have more detailed conversations with players that we think will add that Stardust, and we've got active conversations going on at the moment that if they come off, and there's always competition for good players, but if they come off, I think fans will be very excited about them, and I know that we are.
Fantastic. And how does that work just from a process? When players are possibly considering moving maybe from the Southern Hemisphere, how are us or any other team, how are they notified of availability of certain players or pending availability?
Well, there's a network of agents who represent the players, and we know the agents, so we'll go out to the agents, whoever they may be, and say that we're looking for a player in this position with this kind of experience, and what do you have? And it also happens that if a player is looking to move from the Southern Hemisphere or France or England or wherever it might be, that the agents will contact clubs that they would like to put their players to, and that's not necessarily every club, but clubs that they would like to put their players to, and say, look, so and so is available, would that be something of interest to you? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it's of interest, but we have other priorities. We always look at key positions to we know where we're strong and we know where we're not so strong, so we'd always target those priority positions first, but it's done through the agents, so that we go out with our wish list, if you like, and the agents come to us with the players that are available.
That sounds super exciting. But we've also got the move to St Helens. I know you've been actively engaging with supporters both before the Newcastle game, and I think you were down at Swansea talking to the fans there at the weekend. So over to you, really, Lance. What can you tell us, please? Can you give us an update on where we're up to regards to the move to St Helens, possibly some of the time scales, and then maybe after next season? What are the plans beyond that?
Yeah, yeah, of course, and yeah, I spoke to Ospreys fans before our game against Newcastle earlier this year. I went down to St Helens before the Swansea Carmarthen game on Friday and spoke to the Swansea fans. Um, it's and I've said this all along. It's such an exciting prospect for us. People talk to me about you moving to a new stadium, and the thing that's exciting is that we're not moving to a new stadium. We're moving to a really old stadium, and it's a real privilege to be part of the next chapter of St Helens history. When you look back at all the things that have happened there, Wales' first competitive game was played there, all of the other amazing things that Swansea have done there, and some of the cricket things that have happened there as well, and it's a really exciting thought to be part of something so historic. And I've said it before, we want to turn it into a traditional Welsh rugby ground. I want opposing teams to look at the fixture list and go, oh hell, we got to go to Ospreys on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I don't think they do that at the moment. I think they say, you're going to want to go to Ospreys, and they'll respect us as a team. But the facilities at the Swansea.com are fantastic. They're absolutely amazing. Unfortunately for us and for the opposition, the away changing room is great. The hot water works all the time, and
Premier League standard, isn't it?
It literally is. So and that's not what you want. You want to be courteous and respectful, but you want people to feel intimidated when they come to your ground. So I think that when we move to St Helens, and it'll have a capacity of around 8,000 people at least initially, and I'm confident that we're going to get better crowds than we get at the Swansea.com. That it will be that intimidating, fantastic atmosphere. So that's what we're planning to do. So we're planning to put a cover on the terrace, because the terrace is an important part of the atmosphere. If you put a cover on it, it does two things. Firstly, obviously, it helps stop everybody getting wet, which is just in case it ever rains in Swansea. But it also amplifies the noise. So most people know that I was at Gloucester before I came here. The shed at Gloucester acts as a loudspeaker because of the shape of it. So we want to replicate something like that. We've sourced the stand that will go at the town end. The current main stand will move down to the Mumbles end, and then we'll put a new main stand on the beach side, and we need to decide on what we're going to call it. So that's all in hand, and we hope to be able to make another announcement hopefully next month about some more details about what the stands are going to look like. Also some news on what we're going to be able to do with the fan zone, because we want that to be an area that people want to come to early and want to stay in after the game. So we've got some thoughts on how we could do that. So we'd like to, we'll find a time to talk to fans about what that might look like and get people's opinions on some of our ideas. So it's kind of, it's all systems go. It's quite it's quite fortuitous that we're probably just about to sign the PRA, because that's been taking a huge amount of my time, and it means that I'll have that time back to be able to do the significant amount of work that needs doing on the stadium. And I've got some great people working on it too, but it'll be good timing, because it's a tight time schedule. We're confident that we can have everything up and running at the start of block 2, as we call it, so the games after the autumn internationals. But it is going to be quite a lot of work.
Just regard then to, great that hopefully we'll have some further information around the stands and so on. I think I've heard you mention before that there's going to be some extensive work to the existing Swansea Rugby Club clubhouse. Am I right in thinking that's the first thing that's going to happen? Have I
Um,
got that wrong?
no, you've got that right. So there's some things that we can do quite soon, and some things that we have to wait to do. So one of the things that we've agreed with Swansea Cricket Club is that they'll see the season out here at St Helens. So we can't start work on the pitch. We can't start work on the town end stand because it will take up the because that's in the cricket pitch. But there are things that we can do. So we can move the main stand at some point once Swansea RFC have finished with it. Their season finishes in April, their home season. And there are things that we can do to the clubhouse that won't impact on the cricket either. So the clubhouse almost certainly needs a new roof. It needs new electrics. It needs a new heating system. It needs redecorating. We can be getting on with all of those things without disturbing the cricket. As I say, we can move the stand as well. We can probably do some work on putting a roof on the terrace before the cricket's finished. So there'll be a timeline of work, and there is a timeline of work. We know how long each part of it's going to take, when it needs to start in order for it to be finished by December, and we're working to those timelines. But yeah, the clubhouse is going to be one of the first things that gets done.
Excellent. Yeah, I have actually seen a couple of Osprey matches at St Helens. I think they played a couple of Anglo-Welsh games there, if I think back. Are the floodlights of a high enough standard for current requirements for the URC? And
the floodlights are of a high enough standard. The issue is the stanchions that they're on, because they're quite old, and I know they're iconic, and when I drive past them every day, that's one of the first things you see of St Helens. So one of the things that's important to us is retaining as much of the history as we can, but we don't want liability for one of them falling over. The floodlights have to be moved because the new stands will mean that where the floodlights are at the moment, there'll be shadows on the pitch. So we're going to have to move them in any case. But the floodlights themselves are a good enough quality. We'll just need to mount them in different places on different stands, different stanchions.
That's really exciting. As I say, we're all really looking forward to it. I just making my comment on the point you made about crowds. I think the fact that people have known we're moving, I think that's had a little bit of an impact on our attendances. Do you have a target for sort of like an average crowd you would expect during the games at St Helens next year? It will take time to possibly increase, but do you think a 5,000 average, for instance, is a realistic target for year one?
I would hope it would be a bit higher than that.
Great.
But because I think one of the jobs that we've got to do is, and that we're in the process of doing it, is identifying who our target audience is. So obviously our hardcore of existing fans are very important to us. Our season ticket holders are important to us, but we have to attract the people who don't currently come to the Swansea.com, and I think there's a couple of reasons why people don't come. It's no secret that if you have 4,000 people in a 20,000 seat stadium, the atmosphere isn't as good as if you've got 4,000 people in an 8,000 stadium. So that's I understand that. It's also a lot of people know where St Helens is and drive past it, if not every day, pretty regularly. And it's, people say it's not very far outside the centre of town. It's actually about the same distance outside the town centre as the Swansea.com is. it's a nicer walk, and it just feels closer. It's you're not walking up the side of a dual carriageway. Well, actually, I suppose you are, but it doesn't feel like a dual carriageway, and it just feels an easier walk. But we have to get to the people who like rugby, like an entertaining day out, but are not currently coming to the Swansea.com. So we've been doing quite a lot of work on how do we target those people. And if we're successful in that, I would hope that we get decent crowds. And I think once people experience it, they'll come back, because I think it will be a good experience. And usually when people have a good experience, they want to do it again.
Yeah, I think you're right. And certainly when I was living down in Swansea, I had season tickets. We were getting the .com average crowds around 7.5, 8,000. So, the fan base is there. It's, as you say, it's
Yeah, it
making
is.
sure from day one they have a really good experience when we go back to St Helens, and they'll come back again.
I
I
hope so, yeah.
believe from stuff I read as well that obviously there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done to get us to St Helens ready for the post autumn internationals windows next year, and obviously that's I'm sure taking up a lot of your time. But let's say that all goes relatively smoothly and we're pleased how it goes. What are your plans then moving forward? At the moment the training base is in Llandarcy. Have you any ideas for how that might further develop in the future?
Yeah, so there's two phases to the redevelopment. The first phase is the stadium, the clubhouse, the pitch, and the fan zone. And we've got fairly detailed plans for all of those at the moment. There's a little bit more work to do on some of the fan zone ideas that we've got, but we're fairly clear on what we want to do. Then the second phase, which is likely to be in 2 or 3 years' time, would be to move the training centre from Llandarcy to St Helens. And we've spoken to Llandarcy about this before we went public on it. There's huge advantages to having your whole setup on one site. I'm a very big advocate of a one club mentality. It isn't the case that you can just have good players. You have to have good commercial people. You have to have good coaches. You have to have good medical people. It either all works or none of it works. And if you're all on the one site, that really helps the one club mentality. It just makes it easier to all work together and makes everybody feel more as if they're all part of one club. And we do feel we're part of one club, but the commercial team are based at the Swansea.com, playing side are based up at Llandarcy. It's not very far away, but it's not on the same site. So when we all do move down there together, I think that will be better. It'll also be the case that although the training barn and the other facilities will be available for community use, the priority will be first team training. And that's not always the case at Llandarcy. Because we share facilities up there, sometimes we might want to do something, and it's not always completely easy. So, and that's not what you want when you're running an elite sports club. You've got to have the athletes have got to have the priority at all times. So that's easier to manage when it's your own facility. We will actually keep our academy at Llandarcy because the facilities are good and it's very well located. So we have a region that's a reasonable size region, and particularly when you're getting youngsters in, they need to be able to get to wherever the academy training is easily. If we were to move that to St Helens, for the boys coming in from Bridgend, that's might be a bit challenging sometimes. Whereas Llandarcy's better in that in that respect. So and it's nice to keep your presence there. It's been a very good place for us. So we would plan to keep the academy there, but the main training would move down to St Helens in, as I say, 2 or 3 years' time.
Well, excellent. Oh, thank you so much for coming on, Lance. Very, very grateful.
That's my pleasure.
And I don't know if it's one of your key performance targets to sell season tickets in readiness, but you've done it. You've sold me 2 season tickets. I'm going to pay my deposit as soon as we finish this call. So in that way, it's been a success, and we're so grateful for you for coming on. And it's a really, hopefully, a very exciting end to this season. Got some key games. We're all very much looking forward to the remaining URC games and us progressing in the Challenge Cup as well, with a game against a friendly against our rivals from the Scarlets. But I'm sure that'll be a great occasion too.
I hope it will be, and I hope people come along and support us, because I know we're moving and that next season looks exciting, but I think we've got some really exciting games coming up. I think Leinster on Friday will be a great test for us, and people are talking about, is that a game we can win? They haven't lost all season, and the feeling is, yeah, of course we can. And that's not arrogance, and it's just that's the way that we're thinking, that anything's possible. So fans wouldn't want to miss it.
No, definitely not. Well, I'll be there. Anyway, thank you very, very much. Do appreciate it. Diolch yn fawr iawn. And hopefully get you back on sometime in the future.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be lovely. Thanks, mate.
That was the Osprey's Diary. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.